Commander Raiden stood on the battlefield, his boots pressing into the cracked metal floor of the alien base. Smoke curled in the air, and the smell of burned plasma lingered like a heavy ghost. The war between humans and the Zellar Empire had left this world broken, silent, and red with blood. Raiden was the last human left in this sector, his team all gone. He had survived, but not by luck, by skill, by rage, and by something deeper. As he stepped over fallen enemies, he heard a sound, a soft breath, a broken cry. He turned sharply, weapon raised, his muscles tight like a coiled spring. There, beneath a fallen column of steel, lay a figure, not a soldier. Not armed, but something else entirely. It was a girl, an alien girl. Her body was wrapped in torn silks. Her long hair tangled with ash. Her skin was a pale glow of violet. Eyes deeper than the stars, she was chained at the wrists, her ankle injured. Symbols were burned onto her shoulder, royal marks, but scorched and disrespected. Raiden aimed his plasma gun. Ready to end it, she looked up, tears in her glowing eyes, and then she dropped to her knees. Her voice came out soft and shaking. "Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed." The words hit him like a blast to the chest. He didn't lower the weapon, not yet. He stared at her, studying everything, the way her hands trembled, the bruises on her neck, the desperation in her voice. This wasn't a trap. She was scared, humiliated, and, offering herself, Raiden stepped closer. The alien girl flinched, expecting pain. But he didn't hit her, didn't drag her, didn't even speak. He reached down, grabbed the chain gently, and pulled her to her feet. She gasped, but followed, limping slightly. "Who are you?" he finally asked. She looked down, ashamed. "My name is Saranya," she whispered. "I was the heir to the Zellari throne before they sold me to their own soldiers as property." Raiden felt something twist in his gut. He had seen what the Zellari did to their enemies, but he didn't expect them to do it to their own, especially not to a royal. "You're a princess," he said. "Was?" she replied. "Now, I'm nothing, just a prisoner in my own skin." Raiden didn't speak again. He didn't need to. He clicked his wrist communicator, called in his escape pod, and helped Saranya walk across the burning battlefield. She didn't ask where they were going. She just followed him, barefoot and silent, her eyes always watching his face, back at the human outpost. Raiden locked her in a small room, not out of cruelty, but safety for both of them. He gave her food, water, and a blanket. She didn't eat right away, just stared at the wall, as if expecting pain. That night, Raiden sat outside her door, gun on his lap. His thoughts were chaos. Why had she said those words? Why did they bother him so much? He had taken lives, fought beasts, led men into fire. But this girl? Her voice haunted him. He remembered her eyes, big and bright, but full of fear. Not the fear of death, but the fear of being used. Again, he realized something. She hadn't begged for her life. She had begged not to be hurt in a different way. Raiden made a decision that night. He would protect her, not because she was beautiful, not because she had begged, but because no one else had. She was royalty turned to dust, and maybe, just maybe, she deserved one person in the galaxy to care. The stars outside twinkled cold and far. But in the silence of that small outpost, something warm began to flicker. Not romance, not yet, but something just as dangerous. Hope, and hope, in times of war, was a rare thing, too rare to ignore. The outpost was quiet. Raiden walked the narrow halls, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He stopped outside the room where the alien girl Saranya was kept. The door wasn't locked with high-tech security. It's just a simple steel bar from the outside. She could not escape, not in her condition, inside. Saranya sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, Her long violet hair covered half her face, and the blanket he gave her lay untouched beside her. The food tray was still full, cold by now. Raiden unlocked the door, stepped inside, slowly, and placed a small heating cube near her feet. "You're freezing," he said, not unkindly. She didn't respond, just looked at him with tired eyes. "Why won't you eat?" he asked. Serenia looked away in the palace. "We were trained not to eat unless permitted," she said quietly. Raiden blinked, surprised. "You don't need permission anymore," he said, sitting across from her. "You're not there. And I'm not like them." She looked at the food. For a long time before picking up the spoon, she took slow, careful bites. As if afraid she might be punished, Raiden didn't say another word. He just watched, learning more from her silence than from her speech. That night, he stayed outside her door again. He didn't trust her completely, but not because he thought she was dangerous. He didn't trust his own reaction to her. Something about the way she sat, so quiet yet strong. The way she watched the stars through the small window. It stirred something in him, not desire, not yet, but something gentler. Something he hadn't felt since before the war pity, maybe even care. He held his plasma gun loosely in his lap. Resting his head back against the wall, sleep pulled at him, but he stayed alert. This girl was still a mystery, and mysteries got people killed. Sometime in the middle of the night, a noise woke him, a soft thump from inside the room. He stood, gun ready, and slid the door open slowly. Serenia had fallen off the small bench and lay curled on the cold floor. Shivering, her blanket had slipped away, and her lips were turning pale. Raiden rushed in, dropped to his knees, and wrapped the blanket around her. "Why didn't you knock or call me?" he asked. Lifting her up, she tried to speak, but her teeth chattered too much. He picked her up carefully, carried her to the common room where the main heat vents worked best. He placed her gently on the soft padded bench and activated the emergency warmth panels. As she slowly warmed up, she whispered something barely audible. "I thought you'd be angry if I disturbed you." Raiden clenched his jaw. How broken was she? What had they done to her? "You're not disturbing me," he said, his voice rough. "You're under my protection now." Her eyes fluttered open, and for the first time, she looked at him not with fear, but with something close to trust. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why do you care?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know. The next morning, she woke up in the same spot, wrapped in a thick blanket, and alone but safe. Raiden had gone to gather supplies from the nearby wrecks. When he returned, she stood up to greet him. "A little stronger now. I want to help," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "How?" "I may not be a soldier, but I know tech, maps, codes, secrets," she said with quiet confidence. "I wasn't just a princess. I was trained as a backup tactician." Raiden nodded. "Fine," he said, handing her a datapad. "Then earn your place." She smiled. Real one this time. Small, but there, and something inside Raiden warmed at the sight. But peace never lasted. That night, just as he was checking the outside sensor alarms, they flashed red. Someone was here. He rushed to the main screen. 3 lifeforms approaching. Not HumanI'll. They had found her. Raiden grabbed his gear, locked Serenia in a hidden compartment in the floor, and covered it quickly. "Don't move, don't make a sound, no matter what you hear," he whispered to her. She nodded, terrified but trusting him completely now. When the door to the outpost burst open, Raiden stood ready. The bounty hunters stepped in Zellery males, their armor marked with blood and flame. They said one word, "Where is the girl?" Raiden raised his weapon. "She's gone." He lied. "And you're next." Gunfire lit the small outpost in bursts of red and blue, and beneath the floor, Serenia covered her ears, praying for the human who had become her only hope. Raiden dragged the last Solari body outside the outpost and tossed it into the burning wreck pile. His shoulder was bleeding, a clean slice from a plasma blade. But he didn't care. What mattered was that Serenia was still alive. She had stayed. Silent, just like he asked, hidden in the small crawl space under the floor. He opened the compartment slowly, and her wide violet eyes met his. "You're okay," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I'm fine," he said with a nod, reaching to help her out. She grabbed his hand like it was the only real thing left in the world. That night, she didn't sleep in the locked room. Raiden let her sit by the fire in the common room, where she could watch him and feel safe. She sat close, wrapped in her blanket. Not saying much, he offered her a protein bar, and she took it with shaky fingers. "Why are they hunting you?" he asked. After a while, Serenia stared at the flames, her voice soft and slow. "Because I carry something inside me. Something." "They all want," Raiden frowned. "Like what?" She touched her chest, just above her heart. "My blood has the activation key for ancient war tech built by our ancestors long ago. Hidden deep in our ruined cities," Raiden's expression darkened. "Your own people want to use you as a tool." She nodded. "They injected the genetic key into me when I was a child, part of a royal program. I never had a choice, and the bounty hunters, they don't care who I am. They just want the codes in my DNA." Raiden leaned back, staring at the roof. The galaxy had become more rotten than he remembered. Even royalty wasn't safe, not from politics, not from blood greed. He now understood why Serenia had said those haunting words that first night, "Don't kill me. I'll warm your bed." To her, offering herself was survival, not choice. It wasn't seduction, it was surrender. "I'm sorry," he finally said. She looked surprised. "For what?" "For what they did to you." That silence between them said more than words. For once, she didn't feel like a prisoner. And for once, he didn't feel like a soldier. The next morning, Raiden checked the external radar system. More signals. Another group was coming this time. Human, he packed fast, throwing supplies into the bag. "We have to leave," he said. "Your own people?" she asked. He nodded. "They think I've gone rogue. They'll kill me." "Won't they?" she whispered. Raiden didn't answer. They left the outpost at dawn, walking through the thick forests of planet Veruin. The air was cold, but the trees gave cover. Serenia moved slowly, still weak, but she tried to keep up. Hours passed in silence until Raiden stopped near an abandoned mining station. "We'll rest here," he said. Inside, it was dark and dusty, but better than sleeping outside. Serenia collapsed onto an old crate, breathing hard. Raiden went to search the back rooms for anything useful, tools, weapons, or food. In one dark room, he found an old data terminal, surprisingly still functional. He powered it up and hacked into the local bounty server. What he saw made his blood run cold. Her bounty had doubled, now listed in both alien and human territories. And beside her image, a note glowed. "Extreme priority. Capture alive, royal DNA," confirmed. Raiden clenched his fists. He knew what this meant. Every mercenary, pirate, and hunter in the galaxy would be looking for her. She was no longer just a fugitive. She was currency. He walked back into the room. Face hard, Serenia looked up at him, sensing the shift in his energy. "What did you find?" Raiden looked her in the eyes. They raised the bounty. Her lips trembled. "I'm a curse," she whispered. "You're not a curse," he said firmly. "You're a key, but not just to cure, a key to what's still left of compassion in this war." She lowered her gaze, but something in her heart felt lighter. "Then why are you helping me?" she asked. "You could turn me in and live like a king." Raiden sat beside her. "Because I'm tired of watching good people get destroyed by powerful monsters." That night, they didn't sleep far from each other. Not touching, but closer than before. Trust, though fragile, had started to take root. In the silence of the mining station, Serenia whispered something just before sleep. took her if I survive this. I'll still warm your bed, but not because I have to. Raiden didn't reply. But for the first time in years, he smiled. The ship rattled as it broke through the icy clouds of the frozen planet. Raiden gripped the controls, his jaw tight. As he guided their small, stolen shuttle through a snowstorm, Saranya sat beside him, wrapped in a thermal cloak, her fingers trembling slightly. Outside, white winds howled and roared like ancient beasts. It was a dead world, one no one would think to search, and that's exactly why he chose it. The shuttle landed roughly on a flat patch of ice, the landing gear cracking beneath the cold. "We're here," Raiden said, powering down the ship. Saranya gave a weak nod, her breath visible in the freezing air. "How long can we stay?" she asked. "Not long," he replied. "Just enough to rest, fix the ship, and plan our next move." They stepped out into the blizzard, snowflakes like knives against their faces. Raiden led her to a half-buried bunker he'd found years ago on a recon mission. The door groaned as he forced it open, cold air rushing out like a breath held. Too long inside was dark, empty, and bone-chilling, but it was shelter. He activated a power cube and set it in the center of the bunker. The glow giving them light and mild warmth, Saranya sank to the floor, her body shaking. Raiden pulled off his gloves and checked her hands as cold, her skin nearly blue. He grabbed an emergency heat blanket, wrapped it tightly around her, and sat close. "You're freezing," he said. "I'm fine," she whispered, teeth chattering. "This is better than chains." Raiden didn't reply. He pulled her gently into his arms, purely for warmth. She stiffened for a second, then relaxed. Leaning against his chest, her body was warmer than it had any right to be, even in this cold. Her skin radiated strange, pulsing heat. He noticed it before, but now it was clear. "What's happening to you?" he asked. Saranya looked up slowly, her violet eyes glowing faintly. "There's something you should know," she said softly. "I wasn't just given the activation codes in my blood, Raiden," she continued. "They altered my body too." Raiden narrowed his eyes. "Altered how?" "My warmth is part of the weapon system," she said. "It's biological, linked to ancient tech buried in my homeworld." She pulled back slightly and placed his hand over her chest. "I'm a living key, and your DNA. It's the missing lock." Raiden's heart pounded. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm supposed to bond with a warrior," she whispered. "Through touch, through heat, through closeness." His mind raced. This wasn't just about survival anymore. If what she said was true, they were being hunted not just for her, but because together they could awaken something powerful. Raiden stood and walked to the far wall, trying to clear his thoughts. Everything was moving too fast, and yet, when he looked back at her shivering, alone, but full of secrets, he didn't feel fear. He felt responsibility. "You didn't choose this," he said quietly. "No," she replied, "but I'm choosing." Now she stood up, walked toward him, and placed her hand on his chest, not as a princess, not as a weapon, but as someone who sees you. Raiden, not just the soldier. Their eyes locked. In the middle of a frozen planet, there was a moment of fire between them, but Raiden turned away. "Not like this," he said. "Not out of survival." Saranya nodded, her voice calm. "Then when we're free," he said. "When there's no bounty on your head, no war at our backs." That night, they slept close again, back to back, under one thick blanket. Raiden couldn't sleep, not because of danger, but because of what he felt. He had seen death, war, betrayal. But this warmth in his chest, this was new. In the morning, he woke to find Saranya standing at the entrance of the bunker, looking up at the pale sun, her hair blue in the sip. Her hair blue in the icy wind, but she looked peaceful. "You okay?" he asked, walking up beside her. "I dreamed of my home," she said. The sky was purple, and the trees glowed in the dark. Raiden said nothing. She turned to him. "I want to see it again, not as a prisoner, but as me." "You will," he said. Suddenly, the warning light on his wrist device blinked red. A signal had been sent. Someone had picked up their presence. They looked at each other. "No more running," Raiden said. "Then what do we do?" Serenia asked, her voice steady. "We find the ancient city," he replied, "and we unlock whatever it is they're all so afraid of." Serenia's lips curled into a small smile. "Together, together," he said firmly. And so, in the heart of a frozen wasteland, the human warrior and the alien princess began their journey not just to survive, but to change the galaxy itself. They left the frozen bunker before the second sun rose. Raiden led the way across the ice-covered plains while Serenia walked behind him. Her steps slow but steady, her cloak flapped in the wind, and every breath she took left mist in the air. The signal Raiden had detected wasn't just a system error. Someone had definitely found them. The only question was who, by midday. They reached the entrance of an ancient tunnel carved into a cliff face. Old Zelari markings ran along the walls, glowing faint blue beneath the frost. "This leads to one of the lost cities," Serenia whispered. Brushing her hand across the symbols, it was a place of learning, a temple. And a vault. Raiden raised his weapon and scanned the area. They stepped inside cautiously, the air growing warmer as they went deeper underground. Torch-like lights on the walls flickered to life with Serenia's presence. She really was connected to this place, live in a way even she didn't fully understand. But peace never lasted. An alert beeped on Raiden's wrist device. "Multiple heat signatures, human, closing in fast." He cursed under his breath. They had found them. Not Zelari. Not bounty hunters. His own people. The Human Federation had sent a recovery squad, one that didn't take prisoners. Raiden turned to Serenia. "We have to move. Now." But before they could take another step, a voice boomed from behind them. "Commander Raiden. By order of the Human Federation, stand down and surrender the alien asset." Raiden spun around. Gun raised, a group of armored soldiers stepped into the tunnel entrance. Weapons pointed. Leading them was Captain Myra Vossen, old war buddy of Raiden's. Her eyes were hard, and her voice colder than the ice outside. "You've been flagged." "As compromised," she said. "Give us the girl, and we'll make this clean." Raiden didn't lower his weapon. "She's not a threat," he said. "She's a survivor. Like us, she's a living weapon." Voss snapped, "And weapons don't get mercy." Serenia stepped forward slowly. "If I surrender, will you spare him?" she asked softly. Raiden's heart nearly stopped. "No," he growled. "Don't even think about it." Voss smiled cruelly. "Smart girl," she said. "Too bad it won't matter." Without warning, Raiden fired. The tunnel echoed with blasts of energy, blue and red lighting up the ancient stones. He grabbed Serenia and pulled her behind a fallen pillar as the soldiers returned fire. "Go!" he shouted. "Run down the corridor. Follow the blue lights. I won't leave you," she cried. "You have to," he barked. "This isn't just about me anymore. It's about what you carry." Tears blurred her vision, but she obeyed. Running deeper into the ruins, Raiden turned back and fired again, dropping to soldiers. He knew he couldn't win, not against all of them, but he could buy time. Serenia ran until her legs ached. The corridor twisted and turned, then opened into a large, circular chamber. In the center stood a strange device, half altar, half machine, glowing gently. She stepped toward it, drawn like it was calling her name. The moment her hand touched it, the ground trembled. Far above, Raiden was pinned behind cover, down to his last charge. Just as he was about to fall, the walls shook violently. A low hum filled the air, followed by a pulse of energy that sent the soldiers flying back. From deep within the tunnel came a roar, mechanical, but alive. Raiden staggered to his feet and ran toward it when he reached the chamber. He saw Serenia floating inches off the ground, her body surrounded by swirling blue light. The ancient device had come alive, responding to her. He stepped closer. Not afraid, just awestruck. Serenia slowly lowered back down, her body glowing with energy. Her voice was different now, deeper, calmer, more powerful. It started. She said, "The city is waking." Behind them, more rumbling. And the walls began to shift, revealing ancient consoles, weapons, maps, things no one had seen for thousands of years. Raiden reached out and grabbed her hand. "You did it?" he said. "No," she whispered, gripping his hand tightly. "We did." But the moment was short. An explosion shook the chamber. Captain Voss had returned. Injured but furious, she pointed her gun at Serenia. "You don't understand what she is," she shouted. Raiden stepped between them. "No. You don't understand what I am," he said. "And I'm done following orders that destroy innocent lives." He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Serenia's eyes glowed bright, and a shield of energy erupted between them and Voss. The captain's weapon melted in her hand. The look of fear on her face was clear. "This isn't over," she hissed before fleeing back into the tunnel. Raiden turned to Serenia. "You saved me." She smiled faintly. Exhausted. "You saved me first, and in that ruined temple, among my the ghosts of the past, a bond stronger than war was born." They were hunted by all but protected by each other. Deep beneath the ancient city. The chamber shook with energy. Blue light swirled around Serenia's fingers as she stood in the center of the forgotten control room. Raiden stood at her side, watching her with wide eyes. The walls had come alive, symbols glowing, machines humming, air vibrating like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant waking up. Serenia looked around, her voice calm but powerful. "This place was built by my ancestors before the First War," she said. "They called it a cradle, a resting place for the machine of rebirth." Raiden stepped toward one of the glowing panels. The writing looked alien, but some symbols began shifting into human language as he stared. "This machine?" he asked. "What does it do, Serenia?" Turned to him, her eyes glowing softly. "It's not just a weapon, it's a living ship," she said. "A guardian. Asleep for thousands of years, waiting for a royal to awaken it." Raiden looked around again. Everything was massive. Hidden beneath ice for so long, why hasn't anyone else activated it before? Serenia placed her hand on the main console. "Because I wasn't complete," she said, "until I bonded with you." Raiden's breath caught in his throat. "You mean?" She nodded slowly. "Your DNA, your kindness, your protection. It changed me. It completed the genetic code inside me. Now, the machine accepts me." As if hearing her words, the walls opened, revealing a giant hangar in the center. Was a ship unlike anything Raiden had seen. It floated slightly above the ground. Metallic skin glowing with blue veins of light. Wings spread like a slumbering bird. It looked alive, and it was massive. Serenia walked toward it. Drawn by something deep inside her, Raiden followed, unsure whether to be amazed or terrified. As she reached the ship, a ramp lowered gently, and a soft voice echoed from within. User recognized. Serenia Zellari. Access granted. Raiden blinked in shock. "It knows you? It's part of me," she whispered, placing her palm against the hull. "I've dreamed of this place since I was a child. But I never knew it was real." The moment her hand touched the ship, it pulsed with warmth, and lights activated throughout the city. Far above, satellites hidden beneath the ice blinked to life. Sending signals into space, Raiden's wrist communicator buzzed violently. A signal had gone out, a very loud one. "They'll come for us now," he said. Serenia turned, calm but serious. "Then we finish this before they arrive." Inside the ship, the air was warm and glowing. The controls weren't buttons but living panels that responded to touch and emotion. Raiden sat in what seemed like a pilot's seat, but it molded around him like a second skin. Serenia stood beside him, her body glowing more than ever before. "I need to connect with the core," she said, "but I won't be able to do it alone." Raiden looked into her eyes. "You mean?" "I have to connect too," she nodded. "Our bond powers this ship now. It's alive, and it listens only to us." She held out her hand, and without a second thought, Raiden took it. The moment their palms touched, the ship's lights brightened. The engines purred to life, and a deep hum filled the air. Together, they walked to the heart of the ship, the energy core. A glowing sphere that pulsed like a heartbeat, Serenia placed her hand on the surface. And Raiden mirrored her. Suddenly, images flooded their mind stars. Wars, galaxies burning and rebuilding. They weren't just seeing, they were feeling. Everything the ship had stored, thousands of years of memory, now shared with them. Serenia gasped. "There's more. Hidden far beneath our worlds. Ancient weapons, tools for peace. Or destruction." Raiden gripped her hand tighter. "We have to make the right choice." She looked at him, her voice trembling with both fear and hope. "Then we do it together." Outside, the temperature dropped as enemy ships entered the atmosphere. Human Federation vessels and Zellari warships both had tracked the signal. "They're coming," Raiden said, looking at the screen, "and they'll destroy each other." "Just to take us," the ship vibrated, waiting for a command. Raiden looked at Serenia. "Can we fly this thing?" She smiled. "Let's find out." The walls shifted, the ceiling above them splitting open like an awakening eye. The ancient ship rose, hovering in the air, then shot upward with a roar that echoed across the frozen land. In the sky, enemy ships locked onto them, weapons charged. Raiden and Serenia looked at each other, reached out together. The ship responded like a living beast, releasing waves of energy that shattered targeting systems with every pulse. Enemy weapons failed, engines stalled, and panic spread. Raiden piloted through the chaos. While Serenia focused the ship's energy fields, they weren't just surviving now, they were fighting back, together, bonded, alive. In that moment, Serenia wasn't just a princess, and Raiden wasn't just a soldier. They were something new, something unstoppable, and the galaxy had just been put on notice. The stars around them shimmered as the ancient ship soared through space like a rising god. Raiden gripped the controls, flying through bursts of light and trails of dust from enemy explosions. Serenia stood behind him, hands glowing against the control panels, feeding power into the heart of the ship. They had no army, no backup, and no one waiting to save them, but still, they fought. Enemy fleets swarmed the sky, both Human Federation and Zellari vessels now turning on each other. In confusion, the awakened ship's defense system sent powerful energy waves through space, disabling weapons and breaking through shields. Raiden's voice was calm, but sharp. "Shield frequency holding," Serenia answered without hesitation. "Core power at 80%. We can hold them off for a little longer." The ship wasn't just responding, it was feeling. It moved like it had purpose, dancing between lasers and dodging missiles with grace that no human or AI could match. Raiden had never flown anything like it. It was like the ship was alive, and somehow he and Serenia were its soul. Then came the real danger. A massive human dreadnought warped into view 20 times the size of their vessel, loaded with planet-breaking weapons right behind it. The Zellari brought their ancient mothership, spiked with deadly cannons and nuclear cores, to giants both aimed directly at Raiden and Serenia. Serenia's voice broke through the rising tension. "They won't shoot each other. They'll focus all fire on us, unless we make them change their minds." Raiden replied, his jaw tight. He turned the ship toward the center of both fleets, flying directly into danger. "They want a war. Let's give them a reason to be scared." Serenia touched the command sphere, and the ship began to glow brighter than a sun. Power gathered in its wings, humming louder, shaking space around them. A warning message flashed across the galaxy, broadcasted by the ship itself. This is the last warning. Cease fire, or be neutralized, but neither fleet listened. The Human Federation opened fire, and the Zalari joined in moments later. Raiden didn't flinch. Serenia, now. She closed her eyes, focused, and released. The core's energy, a massive shockwave, exploded from the ship. Not with fire, but with pure force. Enemy weapons bent and melted. Smaller ships spun out of control. The dreadnought and the mothership powered down, completely floating dead in space. Everything went still. Raiden let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Serenia collapsed to her knees. Exhausted, he rushed to her side, catching her before she hit the floor. "I'm okay," she whispered, but her glow had dimmed. "You gave it everything," he said, holding her close. "I had to," she smiled faintly. "We had to show them. We're not weapons, we're people." A slow message began to repeat across all frequencies sent from the ship itself. It displayed Serenia's name, her royal lineage. Her new title, Emissary of Peace, Guardian of the Ancient Machine, Raiden, helped her to her feet as the ship gently landed on a peaceful moon far from the war. They stepped outside into soft grass and quiet winds. The stars above no longer held danger but light. Serenia looked at him. "You were supposed to be my enemy," Raiden chuckled. "And you were supposed to be a danger to all humanity." She smiled and leaned her head on his shoulder. "But here we are." Days passed, then weeks. No one dared to attack them again. The Federation backed off. The Zalari went silent. The power of the awakened ship had changed everything. Leaders from both sides sent messages asking to meet, begging for understanding. But Raiden and Serenia didn't respond. Not yet. They weren't ready to go back to war rooms and politics. They needed peace first, even if just for themselves. One evening, Serenia stood by the edge of a glowing lake, her bare feet in the cool water. Raiden walked up behind her, carrying a small blanket. "You've been quiet," he said. She turned, her eyes soft. "I keep thinking about the first time I saw you." He smiled. "You thought I was going to kill you, and I begged you to let me warm your bed," she whispered with a small laugh. He wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and looked into her eyes. "You did," he said gently, "but not with your body, with your fire. Your strength, your spirit." Serenia leaned into him. "I'm not afraid anymore." She said, "Neither am I," Raiden replied, "because now we're not alone." Behind them, the ancient ship rested in silence. Live, aware, and watching. It had chosen them, not just to end the war, but to begin something new. And as the stars turned above, a new chapter for the galaxy was written, not in blood, but in trust, not in chains, but in choice. And at the heart of it all stood one human, one alien princess, and the unshakable bond that had changed everything.